What is up, you guys? Hi and welcome back. So today we're gonna be talking about a very exciting, at least for me, topic, and we're gonna be talking about how to fill your sketchbook. I'm gonna give you 5 different ways of how I like to fill in my sketchbook. And here I think it's worth mentioning that for me personally, my sketchbook is a sort of like an art album. So for me it's very important that it's very aesthetically pleasing, and I rarely do some sort of random doodles in it. I just want it all to look very coherent and very sort of inspiring when I look through it. So my advices are going to be focusing on those kind of ways of how to fill your sketchbook. So I really hope that you guys are interested in that, and yeah, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so the first way of how I'm filling in my sketchbooks is pretty simple, because these are just the full-on colored finished illustrations. And you guys know I love doing these. And here, while picking my sketchbook, I picked the one that for me personally has the best sort of paper for what I'm doing, for what my technique is. And since I'm an artist that works with markers and colored pencils, my paper is pretty much destined for that. So with that being said, whenever I'm creating just a full-on colored illustration, I just can grab my sketchbook easily and do all of that in it. I don't need to go and buy some extra pieces of paper or some extra art blocks, because I can pretty much do everything in my sketchbook. And in this first point, I don't think there's much of philosophy and the reasoning behind why I use such drawings to fill in my sketchbook. This is what I do. I find Sketchbook being one of the best tools to help me out in creating such drawings, because it's so easy to grab it. I have all of my drawings in it. I don't need to have some extra pieces of paper to create those drawings on them. So yeah, for me, this is the best way to fill my sketchbook in, because not only I love using Sketchbook for those kind of full-on finished illustrations, but it's also very easy and convenient. So I highly recommend doing illustrations in your sketchbook. Alright, so the next idea of how I'm filling in my sketchbook is by using the spreads. The spread is like basically 2 pages of the sketchbook like opened up together, if that makes sense. I don't know why I'm even explaining that, because I think that's a spread is pretty much self-explanatory, but well. Anyway, I like to use this full-on spread to create a sort of like a panel of illustrations, and here I'm pretty much being quite random with what I pick. However, I do like my spreads to be pretty coherent in a way. On one hand, I like them to feel spontaneous and random, therefore I'm using just completed illustrations to fill it in. Then I'm adding some random sketches in between, then just some swatches as well. So this is my sort of way of arranging such spreads. You can pretty much arrange any spread however you want, but for me, my preference is to add a little bit of everything in it, just so altogether it looks pretty coherent, but at the same time you can still pinpoint different illustrations and different pieces of art within one spread. Also, I do feel like using spreads can definitely help you out in being more creative, because you just basically have more space to create your drawings on, and therefore you can arrange them in a different manner, in a manner that you would maybe never thought of before. So therefore I feel like using spreads is a great way to get your creative juices flowing and just play around with some different arrangement of your drawings, different techniques maybe. So yeah, my second way of filling my sketchbook is using spreads. And on top of that, using 2 pages at the same time makes your sketchbook being filled in quicker. So that's another advantage of using spreads. So I highly recommend that. So my third piece of advice on how to fill in your sketchbook is a little bit less conventional than the previous ones. And this is about using color swatches to fill in empty spaces in your sketchbook. I really like to swatch my art supplies in my sketchbook because it really allows me to see how those certain art supplies perform on this specific paper in my sketchbook, and that makes it even easier for me to just pick the color that I want to use for my drawing later on and just see how exactly it's gonna look in this particular sketchbook. So not only it's very useful to swatch your supplies in your sketchbook that you're currently using, but also it's a great way to fill in the space that you have. For example, sometimes I do have those pages that are filled in with unfinished drawings, and I just know that I'm not gonna finish those drawings. So then I like to, add in those swatches here and there and basically just make the space a little bit more interesting, because I know that this page is not gonna get filled in any other way. So swatches, I think, are a great option for those kind of empty places that you have. And not only can you do swatches on those kind of pages that you won't probably use anymore, but I also really like adding those little swatches just around the drawings that I was doing. But those kind of swatches usually come up naturally, because whenever I'm in the middle of my drawing process, I like to see the color variations that I have, different type of shades that I want to use. So therefore I'm just naturally swatching, doing those like little dots or scribbles just right next to my drawings. And then I think it still adds to the general look of your sketchbook when you have those like random swatches of colors next to your drawing. You can see like the process was there, and you can pretty much see the thought process behind each drawing, more or less. So yeah, I think swatches are really a great way to spice up your sketchbook and to fill in some empty spaces that you have in it. The next way to fill in your sketchbook is basically just by using reference pictures. And yes, I do use a lot of references in my normal drawings, but with this exact point, I do mean just taking any reference picture that you find, just the first one that catches your eye, and use it just straight off. Just transfer it onto a fresh page in your sketchbook, but maybe do something different about it. Maybe don't do like a regular drawing based on that certain reference, but take a little bit different medium or just sketch it out. Just normally grab a pencil, grab a kohl erase in my case, and just sketch it out very loosely, just to warm up, just to get your creativity going. And yeah, this is pretty much super easy and super quick as well way to fill in a page. This little drawing that I'm doing right now took me maximum 20-30 minutes, and it looks very impressive, let's say, very interesting. It definitely adds some flavor to your sketchbook, if I can say so. It definitely is something intriguing between your usual drawings, and it just adds another value to your sketchbook. And here you can obviously use references because that's the easiest way, that's the quickest possible way, but also you can just use your imagination and sketch something that you had on your mind for some time and just have fun with it and get creative. And my last piece of advice for this video is using different mediums in your sketchbook. And like I said at the beginning, I like to keep my sketchbooks pretty much in the same kind of aesthetic and same kind of vibe. So I'm not gonna advise you guys to go and grab oil paints or, I don't know, acrylics, watercolors, because not only the paper in my sketchbook, the sketchbook that I'm using, is not allowing me really to experiment with those sort of mediums, wet mediums, but also I just don't like such different techniques in one book. I mean, some people do it and it looks fantastic, and I appreciate that every time. But for me, I like it to keep it kind of close to my core values in drawings and my core techniques. So I'm not switching it up that much. But for example, I really like using Posca pens in my sketchbook. And for me, that's still a different technique. It's very different from my Markers Plus color pencils. But at the same time, it's still in this kind of cartoony, sketchy sort of vibe. So it's not that far away from my drawings, but it's still something very different. And it gives yet another value to my sketchbook. So with those Posca pens, what I like to do is I'm basically grabbing usually black ones at first, and then I'm adding some color later on. But here again, either I'm just sketching out from my imagination, or I'm just grabbing some reference pictures that I like, and I'm just kind of trying to transfer them onto a full-on spread or some certain pages. But I'm not being super precise with that. This is what is it all about. When I do those kind of Posca pen pages, I like to be very free, and sometimes I don't even do a sketch beforehand. And I think that makes it for even cooler effect, because everything is way more sketchy, way more loose, and very different in a way. So this kind of way of filling in my sketchbook not only lets me to add another level of creativity to it, but it also allows me to express myself in a more free way and just, you know, do something different from time to time. And also, once more, this technique is super quick. You can literally do such spread in, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. And it's just so much fun. So I advise you guys try it out for sure. And yeah, these are my 5 ways of how I'm filling in my sketchbook. These are basically the things that I use in pretty much all of my sketchbooks, all of my past sketchbook, and the sketchbook that you guys could see in today's video. I'm still in the middle of it, so I really hope that maybe 1 or 2 months more and I'm gonna have this one done. So I hope that you guys are excited for the sketchbook tour. And also let me know which of those ways are you going to try in your sketchbook. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I'll see you very soon, so take care. Bye!